welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really digging into something fascinating, Chinese smartphone sub-brands.
Yes, specifically how giants like Huawei and Xiaomi used this strategy. It's a big part of how they grew so huge.
Exactly. We've got some great material to work with.
Yeah.
There's an article from IT journalist Takomi Makino, Keywords for Deeply Understanding Chinese IT, Volume 43.
Right. And we're also pulling from those ByteDance Engine mobile industry white papers, the 2019 Waiting for the Win one.
And The Unreached Realm from the first half of 2020. Lots of data there.
Definitely.
So, our mission for you today, we want you to really get the strategic thinking behind these sub-brands. Understand why they matter, not just for these companies, but maybe more broadly in tech.
It's kind of a shortcut, really, to understanding a key piece of the puzzle in the global tech scene.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Why even create a sub-brand? What's the point?
Well, the core idea, it's about targeting different customers or using different strategies without, muddying the waters for your main brand.
So you can have, like, one brand for high-end and another for low-end.
That's a really common tactic in China, yeah. Or maybe main brand domestic, sub-brand for overseas. Keeps things clear.
It does make me think of things outside of tech, too, like you see with mobile carriers, right? In Japan, Docomo has Y.Mobile and UQ Mobile. Different price points, different targets.
Precisely. And the source uses a great example, Uniqlo and GU.
Oh.
GU being the lower priced option actually let Uniqlo itself move kind of upmarket, higher quality, higher prices.
Without alienating the price-conscious shoppers they might have lost otherwise.
Exactly. If GU wasn't there, maybe people would just thought, wow, Uniqlo's getting expensive.
So the sub-brand actually helps shift the main brand's position.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
It's a dynamic relationship, not just two separate things running side by side.
Okay, so how does this play into the rise of Huawei and Xiaomi?
Right.
Because before them, the Chinese phone scene was a bit different.
Oh, yeah. You had the what they called the Zonghua Cool Union. ZTE, Huawei, Coolpad, Lenovo.
And let's be honest, the reputation back then wasn't always stellar. Chinese quality sometimes meant, well, not the best.
Right. Meanwhile, globally, you had Nokia, Apple, Samsung really dominating the smartphone market as it was starting to boom.
Then Xiaomi arrives. August 2011, the Xiaomi one. That felt like a real shift.
It absolutely was. They targeted that mid-range sweet spot. Lei Jin, the founder, had this 80-80 rule idea.
80.
Yeah, satisfy 80% of consumers by giving them 80% of the features they want, but at a really good price.
Clever. And they were smart about how they started, weren't they? Not just launching a phone straight away.
No, exactly. Makino's article points this out. They began with software, useful apps, then their own Android skin, MIUI. Build the community first.
Build the audience, then give them the hardware. And Lei Jin admired Muji and Uniqlo, right? Good design, accessible.
Yeah, that philosophy was definitely there. This user-first approach built momentum. They had fans waiting for the phone.
And Huawei noticed.
Oh, they noticed. November 2011, just a few months later, they launched the Ascend Honor.
Which apparently even looked a bit like the Xiaomi one.
Visually quite similar, according to the source. And maybe part of Huawei's early strategy was, well, Xiaomi was new. They couldn't make phones that fast initially. They outsourced.
Ah, so Huawei could step in with Honor and maybe soak up some of that demand Xiaomi couldn't meet yet.
Seems like it, capitalizing on that initial production bottleneck.
Okay, so Honor starts as a reaction, maybe not as polished. But bigger things were happening inside Huawei, weren't they? With Richard Yu coming back.
Huge things. Ren Zhengfei, Huawei's founder, bringing Richard Yu Chengdong back to run the mobile division was absolutely pivotal.
And you made a massive call, right? Focusing entirely on 4G and smartphones.
A really radical shift. He stopped all feature phone production. And as Makino notes, their shipments actually dropped quite a bit in the short term. It was a huge gamble.
And not exactly smooth sailing at first. Those early Ascend phones, the P1 and D1, quality issue.
Yeah, apparently quite significant ones. There's that famous story Makino mentions. Ren Zhengfei getting so mad about his Ascend D1 freezing that he supposedly threw it at you in a meeting.
Wow. That says a lot about the pressure. Their market share even tanked to like 4%, didn't it?
It did. But crucially, Ren Zhengfei kept faith in you. He backed him.
And that backing allowed for the really strategic stuff, like developing their own chips.
Exactly. Investing in his silicon, developing the Kirin chipsets, and their own software layer, EMUI.
Which Makino points out is a huge advantage, right? Having your own custom-made chips versus just buying off the shelf.
It's like a tailored suit versus ready to wear. You can optimize everything, hardware, software working together perfectly. That takes time and investment, though.
But it paid off. The Ascend P series started getting noticed.
Yeah.
First for being super thin, then just getting better and better.
Gradually, yeah. And this brings us back to the sub-brand battleground heating up.
Right. Xiaomi, having found success in the mid-range, launches Redmi in July 2013.
And Redmi's job, Makino emphasizes, was specifically the low end, that 1,000 yuan phone market, especially thinking about India.
So protect the main Xiaomi brand's image. Let it aim higher, while Redmi handles the budget segment.
Precisely. Keep the Xiaomi brand aspiring towards premium.
And Huawei responds again. December 2013, Honor becomes its own distinct brand.
Yep. And initially, that first Honor phone, the 3C, looked a lot like a Redmi. So people thought, okay, Honor is just Huawei's Redmi killer.
But it was more complicated than that.
A bit more, yeah. Huawei had a dual strategy. Honor did fight Redmi on price, absolutely. But Honor also pushed into the mid-range, competing directly with the main Xiaomi brand, too.
Ah, okay, so Honor attacks both Redmi and Xiaomi.
While the main Huawei brand, it focused upwards, aiming high-end, taking on Samsung, taking on Apple.
Which, as Makino suggests, freed up the main Huawei brand to really focus on R&D, push the technology forward.
Exactly, and those ByteDance white papers show the strategy worked really well for them.
They focused heavily on cameras, which people loved.
Huge focus on cameras. And that Kirin chipset advantage was critical. High performance, but they could control the cost better.
That in-house chip development really gave them an edge, didn't it?
A significant one. They weren't stuck using the same Qualcomm chips as everyone else, necessarily. Especially when things went wrong.
Uh-oh. You mean the Snapdragon 810, the Fire Dragon?
Exactly. 2015, Xiaomi used it, and Makino notes that while others had issues too, Xiaomi's design choices, trying to push the chip hard, maybe made the overheating worse for them.
Ouch. That must have hurt their reputation for a bit.
It likely did. And the white paper suggests this gave Huawei and Honor a real opening, a chance to gain share and build that reputation for reliability.
So let's look at the market around, say, early 2020, based on that ByteDance report. Huawei and Xiaomi are big players.
Massive. And their sub-brands, Honor and Redmi, are clearly driving a lot of that volume.
And the report breaks down price coverage too, right?
Yeah, and it's really telling. Huawei and Honor together, they covered basically all the price points. Low, mid, high, something for everyone.
Whereas Apple was dominant high-end, but weak lower down.
Right. And Xiaomi Redmi. Strong low end, but maybe less strong in the mid-range compared to Huawei Honor, which maybe limited that brand synergy a bit.
Meaning, maybe a Redmi user wasn't automatically likely to step up to a pricier Xiaomi?
Possibly less so than an Honor user seeing a clear path to a premium Huawei phone. It suggests Huawei built that ladder more effectively.
The brand switching data in that 2020 report is fascinating too. iPhone users stick with iPhones.
Very high retention for Apple, yeah. Lot stay, or switch to another iPhone. Huawei was close behind on retention.
But Huawei had a lower inflow rate, meaning fewer people were switching to Huawei from other brands compared to Apple.
Well, lower inflow relative to their high retention, yeah. It suggests they were good at keeping their users, maybe better than attracting brand new ones at that specific moment compared to Apple attracting switchers.
And if you group Huawei and Honor together, like Makino suggests,
their combined retention was actually higher than iPhone's, but still lower inflow than Apple overall.
Which the white paper interprets as really strong loyalty within that Huawei Honor ecosystem in China. Once you're in, you tend to stay.
Once you use Huawei Honor, you keep using it, is kind of the takeaway.
Why such strong loyalty? What did they get right?
Makino suggests it's pretty simple. No dissatisfaction with performance or price. Basically, the phones did what people needed reliably at a good price.
And he talks about smartphone evolution becoming more horizontal than vertical.
Yeah, fewer huge leaps, more variations, screen size, cameras, battery. Huawei and Honor just nailed the basics for the majority who want ease of use and good value.
Unlike maybe OPPO and Vivo, who focused on flashy features.
Right. They push things like super fast charging, novel cameras, great for attracting attention, maybe grabbing new users, but harder to keep them, perhaps, because the next flashy feature might be on another brand.
And their sub-brands, OnePlus and IQO, were more focused overseas or on high specs, not that full low-to-high domestic strategy like Huawei.
Exactly. Different approach. So Huawei's sub-brand play looks incredibly successful until the external factors hit.
Right. The U.S. sanctions, that changed everything.
Absolutely devastating for Huawei's phone business. Their inability to get those Kirin chipsets. That was the linchpin.
Because they designed them in-house with the silicon, but TSMC built them using U.S. tech.
And the U.S. ban cut that off. No more custom Kirin chips manufactured for them.
Makino really stressed how dependent they were on those chips, all that know-how. He saw a tough road ahead.
Yeah, a period of struggle, potentially lower performance in their phones, and the fact they ended up selling Honor, that showed the scale of the impact on their strategy.
The article basically predicted the market might snap back to something like Apple plus the others, with maybe iPhone being the main high-end choice again in China.
Kind of like before Xiaomi shook things up initially, a big reshuffle was inevitable.
And Makino's conclusion on the sanctions was pretty clear, wasn't it?
Stark, yeah. Undeniable impact. A crisis of survival for Huawei's phone division. The 2020 white paper gives us that snapshot right before the full force hit, showing just how strong that Huawei Honor structure was.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've seen how Huawei and Xiaomi masterfully used sub-brands, Honor and Redmi. Different segments, protecting the main brand, driving growth.
Yeah, different paths, but both incredibly effective. Huawei's dual brand approach maybe gave them broader coverage across the board in China.
But then, bam,
Yeah,
geopolitics.
totally.
The U.S. sanctions hit Huawei hard, showing how even dominant players can be incredibly vulnerable to these external shocks.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it?
It really is. Which leads to our final thought for you listening. Think about sub-brands in other industries. Where else do you see this playing out? How can companies use it strategically?
And reflecting on Huawei and Xiaomi, what does this tell us about market disruption? Not just from competitors, but from, well, global events, political shifts, technology access changing overnight.
Are there other big companies, seemingly untouchable today, that might face similar unforeseen challenges? What are the lessons here about resilience and adaptability? Something to definitely think about.